It's starting to heat up here in HGC as we're getting ready for week number 3, day number 1. My name is Trixler, and to my left, Kalaris.
I'm going to be here forever and ever and ever at this point. It's nice. We're reaching the halfway point almost.
There we are.
For HGC Europe Phase 1. And it's fair to say that a lot of these teams taking their steps towards Katowice. It's very, very important. Today will be no different.
Yeah, it certainly will. And today, we actually have a ton of matchups that I'm excited for. But this weekend in particular, we just have so much great stuff. I know tomorrow, you and I are both looking forward to the big one.
Oh, yeah.
Expert taking on Dignitas. Europe is just shaping up so well.
Yeah, for me, for the most part, that is the fixture that will decide a lot of what is going into Katowice, with those two teams vying for that position. I think, Dignitas go in as a big favorite tomorrow, but for sure, we could see some upsets, I think, from Team Expert.
I think I agree with you, man. And just in our standings right now, the top 3, the top 4 are looking fantastic. We already know that they are in a great spot. The bottom side is what I'm starting to worry about a little bit down here in the bottom 4. Tricked Esport is 0-3 with a 1-9 record. They'll be our first series of the day that we're going to watch as they play against the playing Ducks, but they had a hard road to begin with.
Yeah, they definitely did. They had to go up against the likes of Fnatic, like Expert, and like Dignitas, for example. You expect with a roster like Tricked Esports to not go into those as well as you would in some of these next coming fixtures. So I'm expecting in the next couple of weeks, especially maybe even here in this week, for them to actually put some wins on the board.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you. Tricked Esport, they had a very hard start to the entire season. They faced off against Expert as one of the first to face off. They've hit Misfits and they've hit Fnatic, but now the road is going to start becoming slightly easier for them if you're looking at pure matchup statistics. But playing against the playing Ducks is going to be a big deal. So let's go ahead and check out our schedule for the other matches that we're going to be watching today. Later on, we will be checking out B-Genius and Fnatic. That's going to be a fun one. Later on, North America showing up with No Tomorrow and B-Step facing off. But later, Superstars going against Gale Force Esports. But we start today. We've already introduced it slightly here. Playing Ducks and Tricked Esport. And I am just vying for this team, Tricked Esport, to get the first win.
Yeah.
On the scoreboard, man, because I feel so bad for them because they've been talked about by so many as being one of the best here in Europe.
Yeah, a lot of people have touted Tricked Esport as a team that has come along with such a strong roster, especially in terms of how much they are veterans in the European scene, and they obviously haven't quite got themselves wins on the board just yet. They've only won themselves 1 map so far in the 3 series that they've played.
And that was an odd comp, too. That was against Fnatic. Fnatic ran Asmodan push comp, and it didn't quite work out for them. In terms of straight-up fights, man, this team right now is 0-9, which is pretty scary to see. Let's see what playing Ducks thinks against facing off against the Tricked Esport.
Pretty new team as well. Played with Remo Baller in a team as well for a long time, so I know this guy's pretty good as well. Also like Knapper. I think they have a lot of potential. We're gonna see how they will do. It depends how hard they're gonna practice, but I think they have a good chance in the HGC.
We used to play in our old Damascus Sport team with Chris, who's now on Diamond Skin. There was some problems with no shot calling back then, and I knew that we had to figure something out, and that's why Alex came into the scene. And he asked me "Oh, are you looking for players right now?" And we're like, "Yeah, we're playing with Chris right now, but it's actually going not very well in scrims and stuff like that, and we need some kind of short-term solution for qualifying for HGC." And we thought Alex would be a better choice in the short run, but we know that Chris could actually be a really good player in the long run.
How do we beat them? I think it's they have Alex, who's still in school, and he's still have some side business. So I guess maybe we can get them there off guard, so as they're not I don't know how serious you take the league.
Diamond Skin is one of these teams that are very aggressive, and since I played with some of the players before, like Chris Bloshan and Chris, I think kind of know how they will coordinate in game.
Tricked Esport is also, I think, a good matchup for us. We lost against them in the qualifiers, but they were pretty close matches, and I think we're gonna have a good best of 5 against them. It's gonna be a good games.
So the discussion point that came up often between those two teams was Alex Aprogi versus Chris, which I believe a couple weeks ago is the the actual conversation that would have been the main conversation. But lately, it's changed pretty heavily. Sport Billy has made a name for himself in the Playing Ducks.
Yeah, who would have thought it? To see Sport Billy doing oh so well here in the tournament. I want to say when he was on Team Liquid way back when in Europe, he was a little bit overshadowed by some of by the rest of his teammates. So it's nice to see Sport Billy actually standing out. One thing that I want to make sure of here for when I look at these two teams is Tricked Esport for me, I would say is the favorite if you look at the roster from a purely European historic point of view. But underestimating the Playing Ducks is something that you can't do. And that's what we even saw Misfits do in their previous series, where we saw Playing Ducks actually take the one victory off them when it came to Tomb of the Spider Queen last week.
Yeah, they seem great when it comes to Counter-Strike strategies. So they know how to handle certain unorthodox strategies. They understand how to move that route. But I also want to talk about Eternal on the other side. This is going to be the guy that is going to be facing off against Sports Billy, I feel like, in this matchup overall. In terms of just straight up stats, our teams are looking pretty similar here, but Sports Billy, wonderful KDA, of course. The Time Dead, these two guys are just pure playmakers, and they will get in the middle of a fight and get into some action and constantly fight.
Yeah.
So I really want to know how these two will shape up in this matchup, as they will be moving into probably one of the biggest matchups for both teams here in Week 3.
And one thing that's important to note looking at these numbers is that Eternal is normally the guy that is playing Zeratul, Illidan, things that, will get in there and do damage in bursts.
Yeah.
It's like, it's effective damage. So whilst that number might look a little bit low compared to someone like Sport Billy, you'll normally see him on the ranged, where the effective damage isn't quite as high. So I think those number comparisons, they're kind of tying up with each other to kind of even out nicely. And I wouldn't be surprised if we do see that dynamic come into this game where Sport Billy is in the back lines, but being pressured by someone like Eternal going down the line.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic that we'll definitely have to watch, because as you talked about Eternal and what he'll run, but you look at Sport Billy, he's run Medivh, he's ran Zarya, he's ran Falstad.
Yeah.
All these heroes that are pseudo-support, but back up the team, but also make major playmaking abilities. So it's going to be a fun one to watch for sure. So let's find out where we're going for game number 1 here between Playing Ducks and Tricked Esports. The bans that will be occurring. Tomb of the Spider Queen would be our first ban here from Tricked. On the other side here, Playing Ducks getting rid of Sky Temple, and we are going to Infernal Shrines for game number 1, and that is chosen here by Tricked.
All right, this is a map where I think that Tricked Esport can actually thrive. I think when you've got someone like Eternal on your team, being able to make those plays with like a melee assassin, say if it does become something like a Zeratul or wherever he actually wants to go, I think he can make plays there.
Yeah.
Their front line has been sporadic.
That is definitely
it's either
a word.
1 warrior or 3 warriors.
Yes.
And I'm like, I want that kind of nice medium to be found for them to actually succeed.
Yeah, they really seem to favor warriors, but so do the Playing Ducks. Both teams here have ran a 2 and 3 lineup before with double warrior and triple warrior, so something to worry about. Now, also in our first couple phases here of the draft, I think Tyrael and Dahaka are going to be in our first few slots, because both teams ran them. And both teams prioritize them with Malfurion and Tychus. So I want to see how these drafts are going to shake out. There is the Tyrael ban here from Playing Ducks.
Yeah, so starting things off quickly here in our first draft, first game of the day. Tricked Esport, is it Tyrael? Is it Tassadar? What is it? Does it have to be that still?
So I wonder if Tricked Esport thinks about the idea of getting rid of Tychus. Because Playing Ducks has made a play here. They got rid of Tyrael. And Tyrael's the only one that we've seen Tricked Esport run a few times as a solo warrior, which is pretty funny, as we mentioned in the past. So they get rid of Tyrael, and that means Playing Ducks can pick up Tychus here or Ragnaros. They go for Ragnaros, so Tricked Esport needs to figure out where they want to move down the line here. Could they get their Dahaka, or are they going to go for their... Oh my gosh, they are switching it up. I love it. ETC and Jaina. I like this from Tricked Esport. They are switching up what we've been seeing the last couple of weeks here in terms of their drafts.
Well, already what Tricked Esport is doing is quite clever, because I feel now that the second ban, well, either Playing Ducks has to take Zeratul themselves now, or they have to ban it. So Tricked Esport is trying to dictate the pace of the draft here, considering Jaina comes out in first rotation, which I think is cool.
I like the adaptation. Yeah, I really do here. So Playing Ducks, again, will have to figure out where they want to go this route here. Again, in the past, we've seen a lot of Dahaka and Malfurion as some of the initial pickups for both of our teams here. We've also seen a lot of prioritization for Vala for the Playing Ducks. So they have those options to move down this route, especially with their Ragnaros already being set up. They have a strong foundation here on Infernal Shrines, as he can be one of the explosive heroes on this battleground and Tomb of the Spider Queen, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm wondering... if they want to even pick up one of their warriors at this point as well, because there is that kind of choke that can potentially come along with, you know, saying that the warriors are a big focal point.
Yeah.
I still like Tychus, and he will
There it
get
is.
picked up.
So Tychus and Medivh are taken from the Playing Ducks. So I feel like I agree with you. We're going to see a ban on Zeratul from the Playing Ducks.
Yeah, oh, it has to be, I think. at
Tricked
this point.
Esport, do you go for another support that you don't want to play against here? Malfurion has been a high priority, and then they also want Rhaegar. So if you get rid of Malfurion, you should be able to get Rhaegar in your slot if they ban out Zeratul. They're actually in a really good spot here. They decide, though, to move out with Diablo.
Oh, okay. So take away one of the big playmaker warriors. You've already got one of the main playmaker warriors yourself with ETC. Also, Diablo just has some power on this map. It was where he was resurrected, if you can call Diablo that. And it's you know, it's where he found power back in the day, and now he certainly has a lot of power here still.
I just feel like he's not the one I would go for right away. I feel like if anyone were to pick it up, Tricked Esport would take Diablo. Not the Playing Ducks, because it would give you control around Medivh. However, you do get full engagement, so I think the idea is, okay, if we take away ETC, we take away Diablo, they can't portal in and go for an engage, but I prefer a support ban, and they decided to get rid of Malfurion. So Playing Ducks now may have that option to get Diablo later, but I like the Malfurion ban more.
The interesting thing, though, is if they did go down the Diablo ban, I don't know if it would have been as impactful now that I kind of think about it logically, because in Europe, we have seen many teams even go over to Anubarak to try and deal with comps that have Jaina inside them. So, well, that's the Zeratul ban, like we were mentioning.
Now, Tricked Esport could take Diablo. Diablo suddenly gets Wombo combo potential with Jaina. She has the ETC power slide. You also get control of Medivh, and they finally get that Rhaegar they've been wanting. Now, does Tricked Esport go that route? They get rid of Falstad, as they'll take away from Falstad from the opposing team. However, I don't know if we would have seen Playing Ducks pick it up, as Chris has only run it once, I believe, in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think that their damage with Medivh, Ragnaros, Tychus, Medivh, that's the amount of damage that they're
set
going to
up.
need, right?
They just need their warrior and their support. So
Yeah.
Now, Malfurion on the board. What do you go for support here? Do you go down the Brightwing path? Brightwing Medivh?
Maybe, yeah. Let's see. Who is it? It's Wolfjo, right?
Yeah.
Definitely could do that. The thing is that we've seen Brightwing Medivh actually work out pretty well. And then thinking about the warrior, I don't mind the Anubarak with the Medivh, but it's certainly not solid at the front. I think Diablo might be just too tempting. What do you think?
Diablo, Johanna comes for me. Brightwing probably as the support to pick up. Johanna would make it much easier on Brightwing to deal with just Tychus and Ragnaros. So there's Johanna.
Nice.
Do we get Brightwing as a final pickup for against Falstad? Yes, there it is. So now on the left side here for Tricked Esport, they have pretty solid engage. They have their Falstad, they have their ETC, they have their Jaina. So they get decent damage. Another warrior is probably the route they're going to go for here. And Dehaka kind of stands out for me for Alex the Prodigy to pick up. What do you think?
That way. Could go that way.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if he does end up on the ETC himself. And then, what are we looking for? We're looking for an Eternal pick, that's the thing. So, Zeratul's off the board, Tyrael's off the board, Ragnaros is off the board. Illidan's the normal one that he goes to, but I don't really think it fits too well. I mean, especially into a polymorph and other things.
It would give you chase potential, and it's slightly easier against Johanna, although she does have that blind. Artanis would make sense. The problem is Brightwing and Medivh make it incredibly hard to pick up.
Yeah.
We've already seen him play Artanis in the past.
I mean, even Condemn is kind of annoying for Artanis. If you end up like dashing forwards at the same time as a Condemn, that's you get caught in no man's land, and it'll be Leoric. Okay, so I like a bit more frontline power from them. Johanna is going to have a bit of a hard time. I think it's going to be a case of Johanna's actually a great hero for zoning out a Jaina. But then on the flip side, when that becomes a thing, ETC can hold his own at the front. Leoric can start putting on a lot of pressure to a Johanna that is going to go that deep. So I think it could be a really good pick.
I think I agree with you too. I like the Leoric just because it gives you a lot of control on the Johanna, as you were mentioning, as she can just interrupt a whole bunch of combos. But if you're able to bring in that spooky hand, the spooky hand, you grab Johanna and you can really kind of peel for your team, which is kind of something that Leoric doesn't do well. He's not that great of a peeler, but when you have a high health hero like Johanna, he can do pretty well. You at home, let us know. What are you thinking about HGC? Hit us up with that hashtag at Heroes Esports, and we'll make sure to read your tweets live on air. We love hearing from you. every single day I have something that makes me chuckle once or twice from you guys. So continue making me chuckle, please.
It's because I've created this hashtag meta.
Dude, it's everywhere now.
I know.
Trixler wacky meta, man.
Trixler's wacky meta.
You've branded me. That's what he's done here. He's branded me as.
I'm really good at that, apparently.
Awesome at it. So I also want to talk about the draft real quick. I think I lean a little bit more towards Tricked Esport here with our draft, just because I think the Leoric just really kind of brings this entire composition together. Also gives them some control. But we did see Playing Ducks have some strong play last week with Chris on the Tychus, and then, of course, Medivh here for Sport Billy.
For me, looking at this matchup as a whole, this is probably one of the closest matchups that we're going to get from these teams.
Sure.
I think Tricked Esports has a great roster with some really, really powerful veterans, but Playing Ducks has surprised me throughout the last couple of weeks, even though they haven't got massive wins on the board and stuff like that. Sports Billy's definitely turned up. Chris has turned it up as well. I was a little bit of a critic of Chris for a while. I can openly admit that when he was on Team Liquid, and streaming a lot, still does from time to time. But he's certainly done better, I feel, in these past couple of weeks than I gave him credit for previously.
Yeah, and then Chris Explosion, too, has been showing up. We talk about Sport Billy. We talk about Chris. Chris has been around for ages, but Chris Explosion's been around for a while, too.
True.
And he's making a name for himself here. I've seen fantastic engages from him. His Johanna play is stellar. I think him and Danatan are the ones that run the best Johannas here right now in HGC. So, yeah, I agree with you. The Playing Ducks have the potential to blow up for us. I just initially here on this first draft, I like what Tricked Esport has gone for. And I love that they switched it up, too.
Right.
It's been so much of this Granite Tyrael's banned out, but these double warriors, maybe a triple warrior, we just kind of brute force our way through. And here they did a really strong job of, here, I have an ETC, we're ready for engages, we've taken away from Chris Explosion, we're ready to set up.
I'm having a hard time calling who wins this one.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I am. It's looking pretty even down the line. If I had to give a slight edge, I'm going to go with Playing Ducks, actually, this game.
All right.
Slight edge.
We'll see how the matchup occurs here. Tricked Esport will take on the Playing Ducks on Infernal Shrines, game number 1.
All right, bright and early here in California.
Sunny California.
Sunny, it's
with chances of rain everywhere.
I know. It's all my fault. I do apologize. But anyway, to the left-hand side, we do have Tricked Esports. Nappy will be part of all of this. We have Alex the Pro G. He's going to be on Leoric. Crosby is on Jaina. And then we have Ethernal on ETC. So they did have that little switch. And Rema Baller finally will be on Falstad.
To the far right, the Playing Ducks in red. Here they are. Wolf Joe will show off some Brightwing. He's had stellar Malfurion play so far, but we'll see how he does here on Brightwing. Chris Explosion on that Johanna. Sports Billy on his patented Medivh. Chris on Tychus can be quite a nuisance to deal with if you're an opposing member tank. And Nanda here with the Ragnaros.
All right, so Ethernal ETC, not something that I'm used to seeing, but we're about to watch. Let's see how this is going to play out. The thing is that I can understand why they gave Alex the Pro G Leoric back in the Team Dignitas days. Oftentimes you would see him going on towards Leoric if they had some kind of like double warrior setups sometimes. So that's always nice.
It just seems to fit him as a warrior player. I feel like he's always the off tank. And Leoric just kind of really fits for him and his playstyle. Yeah,
especially when he was on Dignitas. There was Jay, who had a lot of confidence in his Muradin play. We saw Alex didn't really like and navigate to that hero so much. It didn't really resonate with him, is the best way to say it. So yeah, the off tank is certainly something that's good, but the solo Tyrael players that we saw didn't quite have as much punch as they would have liked it to have against some of the big three like Dignitas and Fnatic before.
Gotta agree with you. Well, our matchup stats are shakeout, and there's been some pressure in the middle lane, a little bit of rotation here on the bottom lane. With you having Leoric on the field, you can really keep up the rotations, but here is a rotation that is being punished. Sports Billy and the rest of his team do find out that Leoric is solo rotating, and they pick him off.
I love that. I love that little kind of deviation that we've seen from week to week to week from Sport Billy, actually. So early on, when he was playing the Medivhs, he was kind of executing those plays a little bit later on into the game, but trying to find them early here against Tricked Esport is a great little adaptation that I would love to see more of from it.
I think we're going to see it too. He has been spamming Medivh in Hero League and Solo Queue this last week. I watched a lot of Grubby, and shout out to Grubby. There was massive amounts of Sport Billy plays on his stream the entire time.
That's
It's
good.
kind of cool to watch. So we're probably going to see more and more Sport Billy on that Medivh. The phase here has started for our teams to grab the shrines. A lead will be here for Tricked Esport, 13-12. However, Playing Ducks is currently making it back here as they are starting to move in and grab some pressure.
It's actually difficult for Playing Ducks to get onto here unless they go for portals like that, straight on towards the back line as they were looking for Crosby but didn't quite get the kill. What I was going to say is without those portals, and Chris will end up falling there, as they're going to push them all away. The two frontliners, Alex the Prodigy and Eternal, that is a strong wall that they've got set up there. So unless they can jump through portals and kill off someone, it's going to be hard for them to rival shrines at the moment.
Yeah, and that's kind of the weakness of Johanna being the one to go through that portal. You have to start your condemn, get out, and hope that nobody has actually moved away from that portal, which is a very telegraphed entrance / escape. Also, shout out to Nappy there. He actually blocked the portal so Chris couldn't get into it. He actually right-clicked for damage on there, and then the portal duration ended, and we had a dead Chris. So Nappy with the wonderful support body block there to help secure the kill.
It's good stuff. So now Tricked Esport stepping things up very, very nicely. Leoric here doing so well in Europe as well. He kind of, for a long time, was a Europe special on maps like Tomb of the Spider Queen, and would just make it out here and there. But I think in the heavier warrior meta that we have in Europe right now, he certainly found a really, really strong spot.
Yeah, and something to note, that does not mean you go home and start spamming Leoric first pick.
No,
He's been
no.
a 4th to 5th pick for most comps. He complements certain counter strategies so well.
Yeah, yeah.
It gives you the engage with Entomb. He's helpful against Johanna. He's just one of those heroes that, okay, I need to help break down this front line. You kind of just slot him in there.
Yeah, my best rule for it is when you see Tychus, you're like, oh god, he's a warrior killer. Yeah, Leoric is that too. So, and actually a pretty damn strong solo laner compared to most. So he fits in a lot of places in Europe right now.
That he does. We'll see if Tricked Esport can continue that winning trend for Leoric. On the right side, the Playing Ducks are trying to keep up an experience. They've actually fallen a full level behind here with that Punisher being grabbed. And Tricked Esports is doing a great job of rotation right now. They're on the bottom, they're on the top, they're soaking, they're keeping their lead. They didn't put too much pressure on that first shrine in the middle lane. They just grabbed the turrets. So Playing Ducks playing from behind here, and Sports Billy is scouting these mercenary camps, but unfortunately will not be able to grab anything.
Yeah, I can't decide if that was a good rotation by Tricked Esport or a poor one by Playing Ducks. They committed a lot to that top lane, and for Went, actually, much commitment at all to the bottom lane, so it took a little while to get down there, didn't it? It was...
Yeah, I think... So it's interesting. Their thought process was, okay, the mercenary camps in the bottom left and right were grabbed at that point, which means the only thing that they can maybe take if they invade is our mercs in the top right. So they rotated top, which meant that Tricked Esports out-mind game them and rotated bottom and got a turret.
So a slight delay there for Tychus, going to be capturing that hard camp. Maybe hoping that Brightwing could do some damage up towards the camp towards the top before they actually push that out. But it will be better time for Playing Ducks there. The big problem is they're a level behind. I'm not so sure. If they're going to rival this shrine, they have to rival it now.
And I don't think they are. Just
No.
looking at the rotations, they're going to go for the experience gain here and maybe grab some mercenary camps and just give up the shrine, which is probably the better call here. If you want to take out your opponent and you're at this far of a disadvantage, you need to be the first at a rotation. And they just simply do not do so they're going to take turrets instead. Falstead, though, and ETC are on cleanup duty, and will grab the experience here to make sure that they keep this lead.
Explosion taking a bit of damage. He shouldn't die here, though, with the amount of help he actually has with the Ragnaros, as well as Tychus behind him. So Chris and Nundy helping out. And that shrine will pop in just a moment. But they could even just slow that down. They've got 39. Technically no reason for them to take that at just that point in time. But actually, I think they don't want to delay it so much now that I really kind of think about that, because they don't want their opponents to get level 10. They want to try and exploit this window with the 10 and the Punisher, push these guys off and do as much damage as possible.
Yeah, the best time to hold that 39 strategy is... Oh, okay, we have an Entomb. There goes the Ring of Frost. Iron Skin has been popped. Explosion is being focused down. Here comes ETC with the stage dive in the pass. Explosion trying to stay alive, but with a tank in the front line, that will not be a save for him, and he will be taken out.
This Punisher is impatient, man. Where's he going?
He went in, dude.
There's another fort. Why are we here? All right.
He's a killer, man. He just goes for it.
Yeah.
Goes for the throat. He wanted to go to core, but unfortunately all 3 keeps are up, so he just hung out there on the first keep in the top right.
Are you sure he just didn't want to walk into Fountain over? Oh, well.
All right, Playing Ducks are trying to get 10, Kalaris, and they are close. They're about a quarter level away. A little bit of harass here from Sport Billy, but never chasing. In terms of Master Touch, he's got a few stacks on him. Still, looks like only 3 stacks for him, so he's got some time. There goes an Entomb here from Alex the Proji, but he's kind of in back. He's in no man's land here.
That was what you call ambitious. I think the kind of idea of it was cool. Wall off the middle whilst everybody's on the other side of it and get them there, but it didn't work out. Good Gus, though, as well, as Nappe will retreat on out. And Eternal, likewise, just keeping himself alive. So, yeah, it was a bit odd, but there you go.
Yeah, he went for it, that's for sure. Nande slightly off on that timing too, the Sulfura Smash. Again, just Rhaegar being able to go into Ghost Buff form, gave him enough movement speed to get out of the circle. Had he been stunned, maybe they could have followed up. However, the Gust was there too, so things to think about. But it seems like we're just a little bit off in our engages here. Should be cleaning up, as it might be just kind of early for our teams. Alex the Proji and Eternal on the right side here, now starting to invade, as they do have that front line that Claris was talking about already, and Crystplosion is just forced to retreat, as Brightwing is in the top lane, pushing back the experience that was coming her way, so no 5-on-5 available.
Yeah. And the thing is that as much as we don't really have a full, Drain Hope build, he's actually got Hardened Bones at 4, so any kind of time that he's at the front and Tychus wants to put pressure on towards him, you just Wraith Walk, and you soak up so much of that, and you buy your opponent, you buy your team more opportunity to poke with Jaina and Falstad. So the longer the fight is going on there, whilst your front line is just staying alive, the better it is, I think, for Tricked Esport. Yeah,
and you also, if you get Drain Hope on Crystplosion, for example, and you're using those Harvest Bones, that you don't have to worry about Chris and that focus you're mentioning. So he has a lot of tools now available to him to be a frontline warrior that you would want from a Leoric player. Crystplosion will start the engage here as the Shrine phase for the Arcane Punisher, probably the best one to fight for, is popping available for our team. And now with the Odin popped by Chris, there is definitely a fight going to be occur here. There goes the portal. Chris goes for the explosion, does portal out. The Ring of Frost does not connect, and the stage dive misses. Eternal looking for more, though, does have the power slide and will start to fight.
Crystplosion is in a very, very odd spot there towards the front, and he will manage to get away, finally. Leyline Seal comes out, holding 3 of them in place, barely missing a good chunk of that damage as Crosby gets away from there. Another portal on through, but they haven't looked to dive through it just yet, as the Shrine continues to be tussled for.
Yeah, I don't want to call it Nande, but he's just missing these Sulfura Smash timings. He's just slightly off. That could have been a dead Jaina there. Mighty Gus, remember though, as they will fight for the Shrine, and they will confirm it here with all 40 minions going over to Tricked Esport's Power Slide and Crystplosion. And yes, he has fallen victim once again, the Tricked Esport.
Yeah, this is looking a little bit rough at the moment for playing Ducks. Tricked Esport is really holding on. You can see the sustain that is actually coming out from them. One thing that's important to note is that Prog Rock is finished for ETC, and you should never underestimate that talent. It does so much healing, actually, when fights are going on for as long as they are going on between these two teams. So, looks like now Eternal trying to push on through here, get onto that small wall, sending the portal forward so that it can try and bait the Punisher jump. Very, very well done there by playing Ducks in terms of the defense.
So, I think Nande used his Molten Core and then canceled it instantly on accident, and now he doesn't have that cooldown available for defense in the bottom right 4. He started the animation started, and I think he hit his D twice on accident and actually canceled it. So.
Oh, I think he used a lot of it for actually pelting the Shrine.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
okay, maybe I got burned down. I was actually, wow, holy moly. Saw the end of me. I was like, oh man, this poor Ragnar's having a bad day here.
Oh, no, it must have been on cooldown totally.
Yeah. All right, well, Tricked Esport and playing Ducks here, starting to get their aggression continually moving here, as they are, what, 3 levels ahead of their opponent?
Yeah.
Tricked Esport just really putting on a clinic here in terms of rotations. The playing Ducks are just so far behind right now.
I think one thing that's important between these two teams is that playing Ducks in the past couple of series, I think, have shown up. You know, they might not necessarily won everything, but they showed up.
Yeah.
The match is against Misfits, weren't as cut and dry as a 3-1. They looked impressive. I think Tricked Esport, one of their keys to actually going up against a team like playing Ducks was don't underestimate them, and I don't think they have underestimated them so far, which I think is really cool to see Tricked Esports getting a good start to a series here.
Yeah, the only overextend we've had here was Alex the Proji behind the middle fort wall, and that's it. Everything else has been, all right, we've gotten our advantage, now it's time to pull back.
Yeah.
And they've played safe. I agree with you. Right now, they are not underestimating the playing Ducks, and the playing Ducks are kind of hurting now right now. They're not really securing a play here to make a comeback, and they're going to need one soon. 15 to 13. Tricked Esport about to hit 16, and yes, they are invading these mercs down here in the bottom left.
Yeah, this was a really good scout coming out from Sportbilly. Reading the map. Obviously, they didn't see everybody on the map there, thinking where they actually gone. They must be at one of these merc camps where at the Eternal, he's going to have to jump.
Yeah, he was soaking the experience there. Falsa, though, is flying down. Here's Rimmer with the Mighty Gust.
They're going to fight.
Yeah, Alex Pudgy, they've rotated down. Eternal's bought enough time, and he still has a
Oh
power
my.
slide. There goes the Entomb. Chris Explosion in trouble on the left here.
Oh, what a quick rotation coming out from Tricked Esport. They killed Johanna off, and considering how deep Eternal was, for them to all get down there and then buy enough time with the Gust, with ETC being ETC, because admittedly he can buy quite a bit of time for himself. That was really impressive by Tricked Esport. I thought Playing Ducks were going to capitalize on that, but apparently not.
Yeah, the power of Mighty Gust and just working as a team. Had a few people in the middle lane and get balls up from the top lane there, and you have that engage. So Tricked Esport seems to really be on point here with communication. As you just saw there, Eternal continues his side pushing as he's in the top right, pushing in the wave here. Sport Billy will be forced to deal with it. We'll be able to harass, and still is very close to Master's Touch. What is he, 3 stacks away, it looks like? So super close to finishing off that Master's Touch. And meanwhile, Tricked Esports just grabbing their 3rd Punisher of the game.
All right, so let's see, because now we have, obviously, the 16 talents in here. Numbing Blast has actually come out for Jaina, which means that anybody that steps off the mark, even slightly and gets hit by Cone of Cold, will be locked down for an extra 1 second, which could be the difference between actually hitting an Entomb and not hitting an Entomb, if Jaina is a little bit further forward. Let's see. We're finding a lot of damage on towards this wall at the moment. Here comes Molten Core, though, Trixler.
There's the Ragnaros, bringing in that Molten Swing if anyone steps up too close, but mostly here for the clear of the minions and the Punisher. There's the Molten Swing. Alex Proji moves in. Here comes a Runic Blast as well, and they will be able to turn this Punisher for some time here, bringing it down to a quarter health. Here's the Entomb, though, from Alex Proji. He will bring out Drain Hope. Chris Explosion dancing back and forth between the portals that Sport Billy has given him. And Playing Ducks maybe looking for more. Do note they are behind in talents, but some heroics were burned there.
And you saw that in effect there, where Playing Ducks at level 13 gain a little bit more safety in their composition because of the cooldown reduction on Portal. Now, because Medivh actually has that for Playing Ducks, anybody that gets entombed, in theory, could have an easier time getting out because Portal could come down to save that person or persons. So there is the potential for a little bit of a momentum swing here, unless the issue is forced and Leyline Seal just denies them from continuing on.
Save dive has been used, though. Portal will keep Sport Billy and his team moving away from the fight, and this is the control that Medivh can give. Rimmer Baller does have Mighty Gust available, but he can't find an angle here. Chris Explosion's the one in the background, but with his Iron Skin being back up and available, Tricked Esport will not be able to secure the fight. I do like that Playing Ducks are trying and attempting to make plays. They've invaded now, what, 3 times?
Yeah.
But Tricked Esport has done such a good job of setting up a concave and setting up an engage that they can't ever take anything. But Playing Ducks is realizing that and not making a mistake and forcing a scenario they can't win.
I think it's good that they try and keep it on their opponent's side of the map with those invades. They don't want their side of the map to be constantly pressured, especially when they didn't have 16. They don't want the fight to be at the front of one of their keeps, most importantly, because that could just potentially die in the crossfire. And now, Playing Ducks, yeah, they've gained a little bit of traction once again, so they're okay.
Yep, and this is what you need to do. You don't sit here and wait against the global comps. When you have Falstad, you have an ETC with Stage Dive, you have to be the one to go make plays. And Playing Ducks are attempting it. Tricked Esport just doing such a good job of not allowing the plays to happen. Here we are, 18-16, and that traction that Playing Ducks have started to achieve is going to start working out for them here as the Shrine spawns at the very top. They do want a fight in soon, before 19 and 20 hits here for Tricked Esport, as they can just kind of sit back and set themselves up for success if they get those Storm Powers. So Tricked Esport moving over the top, Johanna here as well, Brightwing in the middle lane, applying pressure to Sports. If they could get a fort during this, Playing Ducks could get a nice experience jump, which could be helpful as they move towards that level 20. I just don't see it happening fast enough.
Here we go. Peekaboo was already used there from Wolfchoke, teleporting in towards Chris Explosion, likewise using that portal for vision as well. That's one important application of these portals, could be very useful as Sports Billy looks to put on pressure with his entire team on towards ETC. Eternal gets the Ancestral Heal, and that's going to be a gust. They're trying to isolate Medivh there, and they will be unsuccessful. Leyline Seal buys enough time for Playing Ducks to regroup. They want to take a fight before 20. They want this Shrine and taking a fight before 20, because if they can, Playing Ducks can gain a lot of traction.
Yep, they certainly could, especially with being an Arcane Punisher. Tricked Esport, though, trying to stop that from occurring as Eternal's getting aggressive here. Nande in the back as well. There is a portal for both teams to dance. They have this weird concave set up in this back line here. They are literally against the wall.
Yeah.
But the good news is Playing Ducks is great against the wall with their Johanna being that strong front line, Tychus being there as well. They take a Punisher here, the first one for the Playing Ducks here as the fourth one is taken away from Tricked Esport, and they can start pushing down the fort.
And she took Holy Renewal as well, did the Johanna for Crisplosion, so that means that at 16, she has a little bit more healing power behind her, giving her a bit more sustain while these fights are going on, which is quite important because Johanna has been the focal point of the attacks from Tricked Esport on the other side, so any little bit of extra sustain and healing that you can get is good.
Yeah.
Imposing Presence is at 16 for her, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, and against this composition, Jaina and Falstad, I don't think it has as much oomph as something like the extra healing would have.
Yeah, so grabbing that, it's actually interesting to watch these fights break out. I wanted to comment on it, is that there's so many pause buttons for both team here. You have the Entomb, you have ETC Knockback, you have Mighty Gus, and then on the other side, you have Medivh with Portals, with Leyline Seal.
I thought you were going to say this actually, because we've just had a pause. I'm like,
I was going for that, actually. You took away my joke.
Sorry, oh.
Thanks a lot, Claris.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, there's so much going on back and forth in these fights that it's actually kind of interesting to watch it break out because there's no moment that's like, all right, it's time to fight right now.
Yeah.
It's we start the fight, we bait out heroics, we bait out more buttons, there goes another portal. Okay, now we get the engage. And it seems to be favoring Playing Ducks more here as we get to the late game, just because naturally global comps kind of start to fall off a little bit if you don't have full pressure or a catapult taking away from here from a keep being killed off earlier. So we're really starting to see Playing Ducks taking the momentum now and moving with it.
Yeah, I think that's something that is very characteristic of Europe in particular compared to a lot of other regions. I always bring up this comparison because it's a very important one, is that when MVP Black was at one of their heights back in Korea, they would always ban Falstad because they just didn't want to have Gust in the game, which was the biggest pause moment in Heroes of the Storm back then, by far. So they always wanted fights on their terms, so they would always ban Falstad. Now in Europe, there is a lot of things that have been figured out, like the Gust, like everything that you're mentioning. So dictating a fight and taking it on your terms is probably one of the most important things in Europe, I would say.
Yeah, especially on these prolonged battlegrounds, these 2-minute Spider Queens where you get turn-ins, or here on Infernal Shrines where you have to clear up these minions to get these Punishers to push for you. All these moments that you can slow down can really work out for you in Europe, just using it to their advantage. I do miss the WoW moments that we see in North America, though, where things just kind of explode. But it's kind of interesting to watch. It's just things slowly breaking down.
Yeah.
And now, as we get ready for the next phase here, obviously, the #1 defense here for the left team, Tricked Esports, is to defend their keep. Playing Ducks wants to take keep. That's kind of where we're facing off right now. We're ready for the game. Let's move in and see if Playing Ducks can take a keep here before the opposing team can hit level 20. The pivotal moment between Playing Ducks and Tricked Esports will begin now.
All right, so actually moving forwards with that portal already and using the Condemn there to just bring them in. Remember took a lot of damage, so he has to be careful. And they just want to delay. They don't mind if they lose a wall. They don't mind if the keep goes to half health. They just want to delay until they've got themselves to level 20 here, Tricked Esport. They will back off from a lot of this fight for quite a while.
What I like also, too, is Playing Ducks is using the portal to give vision into the actual keep area.
Yeah.
So the Punisher jumps in instead of the opposing team dictating when it does come in, so maybe they can pick someone off and isolate them. However, Alex Aproji being in the front line was available and uses Wraithwalk to prevent that from being a major disadvantage they had.
Ooh.
But still, damage on the keep. Playing Ducks, though, waiting for rotation. However, Tricked Esport shouldn't go that way, as there's no mercs in the top left corner for him.
I think this is slightly telegraphed, because why would the bird be here? Yeah.
Oh, but the full engage there. Unfortunately, Nande not able to hit the Sphere Smash. But still, a cool attempt.
Yeah, I liked where it was going. I feel that if they were going to try something like that, maybe you just don't reveal the bird, don't reveal Medivh, have him up with the rest of the group, just kind of sat up there somewhere, and then hope that someone kind of rotates up towards the hard camp instead of trying to go in very, very deep.
But you have to think about the mental warfare that just happened there. Even though they didn't get a takedown, Playing Ducks has shown Tricked Esport they're willing to go for these aggressive portals, which means Tricked Esport naturally will play more defensive now, especially with them having combat can be picked off. Jaina, Falstad, even Rhaegar are definite pickoffs if we have a Johanna come in with a Condemn into a Blessed Shield into a Ragnarok Smash.
Yeah.
So it's actually kind of a cool maneuver to make Tricked Esport think about that for the rest of the match.
It's funny though, because I actually, okay, so whilst I said that I wanted them to just kind of back off a little bit, I can understand why they take that risk, because just before level 20, you want to try and get a pick off. It wasn't to be the case, and now Tricked Esport has full control of it, so unfortunately for Playing Ducks, they have to be defensive because of that level disparity. So it's a bit of a shame for them that, you know, they couldn't find those opportunities when they were being aggressive, when they did have the opportunity to do so.
Okay, Tricked Esport just needs to set up for the next shrine and move from there as they have level 20 and kind of hold it on. Falstad at the top will be holding onto the experience pushing their way, and they should have the bottom, middle, and top lane all pushing after this shrine does activate. So they can put all their resources, dump them into actually getting this shrine and then pushing down for a keep. So already Tricked Esports is set up. Playing Ducks will be able to scout out here with Sport Billy floating around. So if you're playing Ducks, you have two questions. Do you go for a really odd engage and maybe trying to grab somebody off here and pick them off? Or do you just soak and you hold to level 20? And the latter is the option here, as you see Ragnaros, Brightwing, Tychus, and Johan on the bottom. And Playing Ducks has held on. This is good, actually, for them. They're going to hit level 20, which is what we've seen in the past, a strategy that if you're behind, you pull off for. You just hold and hold and hold until you can get on even footing with your opponents. And because they haven't lost keeps, they're definitely still in the game.
It was a little bit hard, unfortunately, for Playing Ducks to actually soak top lane because they captured themselves the hard camp. So the lane was so pushed in that Brightwing couldn't go up there and soak globally and then come down to speed their progress up to level 20. But they're going to get it anyway before the Punisher actually reaches their wall. And this was always going to go over to Tricked Esport anyway. So I don't think it matters too much. But in different scenarios, it certainly could have been like a small thing.
Well, 20 to 20 in a second here. There goes the Molten Core. Nande will start clearing the front line in front of him here with Alex approaching Inferno, burning down that fort. And there's a dive here on the Punisher in the back right. You have Odin bringing down the damage, trying to hear the Punisher, but the keep will fall as Alex Aproji, Rimmer, and Crosby do take it out, and they are looking for more, starting damage on the core already, baiting their opponents into a fight.
And that's going to be guts coming out from Rimmer Baller as well. Their Punisher manipulation was really good up towards the top right-hand corner, but I don't think they're going to have enough damage here to shut them down. How much are they going to do? Oh, they missed the combination there on towards Rimmer Baller after the ley line seal. It just barely didn't run out in time, and that should be enough damage coming out here from Tricked Esport. Ancestral Heal on towards Rimmer on the left-hand side, Stage Dive on the right there. They will take down one target, but that it will be GG. As Tricked Esport gets themselves a good win on the board.
Yep, putting themselves ahead here, 1-0 over the Playing Ducks, which has got to feel good for them after the first couple weeks here in the HGC. So congratulations to them. But definitely something to note is that Playing Ducks with the Ragnaros, what was that, 4 misses on Sophira's Smash? That timing just slightly off, and I hate to call it Nande, but you seem to be missing out here on what that potential of the team fight can do for you if you kill off anyone with that Sophia Smash.
Yeah, if you're going to pick up those talents, that hero, you have to be absolutely on point with it because it's massive damage. You go out deleting someone in a split second if you're able to hit it. So, you know, some things to kind of iron out there in that play. If they did, you know, that game could have been a completely different scenario.
Yeah, get experience, get a couple kills, put yourself ahead maybe. We'll see what happens in game number 2 between the Playing Ducks and Tricked Esports as we'll be right back. This is the HGC.
Behold Ragnaros! As the Lord of Azeroth's fire elementals, Ragnaros desires nothing more than to burn the world to ash. Under the command of the old gods, he waged a war against the Titans